Samantha's life was organized, predictable, and meticulously planned down to the last detail. As a corporate lawyer, she thrived on structure and precision. Her calendar filled months in advance with meetings, deadlines, and social events. But as she sat in her office on a dreary Wednesday afternoon, staring at the relentless downpour outside her window, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. A sudden knock on her door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called, straightening up. Her assistant, Jane, stepped in, holding a large envelope. "This just arrived for you, Samantha. Special delivery." Samantha took the envelope, her brow furrowing in confusion. She wasn't expecting anything. She opened it carefully and pulled out a set of plane tickets and a letter. The tickets were for a flight to Paris, leaving the next day. "Dear Samantha, life is too short to live it all planned out. Take this trip. Embrace the unexpected. Love, Dad." Her father had always been a spontaneous, live-in-the-moment kind of person, the complete opposite of her. But he had passed away 6 months ago, leaving behind a void that no amount of planning could fill. Samantha felt a lump in her throat as she read the letter again. Maybe he was right. Maybe she did need to shake things up. The next morning, Samantha found herself at the airport, a sense of nervous excitement bubbling inside her. She boarded the plane, still unsure of what she was doing but determined to honor her father's wish. The flight was long, but Samantha found herself enjoying the quiet time to think. She watched movies, read a book, and dozed off, dreaming of what awaited her in Paris. When the plane finally landed, she stepped off and took a deep breath, the crisp European air filling her lungs. Paris was everything she had imagined and more. The city buzzed with life, its streets filled with people from all walks of life. Samantha checked into her hotel, a charming little place in the heart of the city, and decided to take a walk to get her bearings. She wandered through the streets, marveling at the architecture, the cafes, and the shops. She made her way to the Eiffel Tower and stood in awe of its grandeur. As she was admiring the view, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Beautiful, isn't it?" She turned to see a man standing next to her, his eyes fixed on the tower. He was tall, with dark hair and a warm smile. "Yes, it's stunning," Samantha replied. "I'm James," he said, extending his hand. "First time in Paris?" Samantha shook his hand, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. "Yes, I just arrived this morning." "I'm Samantha." "Welcome to the city of love," James said with a grin. "I'm actually a tour guide here. If you need any recommendations or someone to show you around, I'd be happy to help." Samantha hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "That would be great, actually. I'm not really sure where to start." James spent the rest of the day showing Samantha around Paris. They visited the Louvre, walked along the Seine, and enjoyed coffee and croissants at a quaint cafe. Samantha found herself relaxing in James's company, his easygoing nature a refreshing change from the rigidity of her life back home. Over the next few days, Samantha and James explored Paris together, each day more magical than the last. They visited museums, attended a wine tasting, and even took a boat ride on the Seine. Samantha felt a sense of freedom she hadn't experienced in years, her father's words echoing in her mind. One evening, as they were sitting on a bench overlooking the river, James turned to Samantha with a serious expression. "So, what brought you to Paris?" Samantha sighed, looking out at the water. "It's a long story. My father passed away recently, and he left me these tickets. He wanted me to embrace the unexpected, to take a break from my structured life." James nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "I'm sorry for your loss, Samantha. But I'm glad you're here. Sometimes, the best things in life come from the unexpected." Samantha smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I think you're right. This trip has been amazing." James looked into her eyes, his gaze intense. "And it's not over yet. There's still so much more to see." The next morning, James surprised Samantha with tickets for a train ride to the countryside. "There's a little village I want to show you," he said, his excitement contagious. They boarded the train, the scenery changing from bustling city streets to rolling hills and charming villages. Samantha felt a sense of peace as she watched the landscape fly by, James sitting beside her, his hand resting lightly on hers. The village was like something out of a storybook, with cobblestone streets, flower-filled gardens, and quaint cottages. They spent the day exploring, visiting local markets, and enjoying a picnic by a serene lake. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the village, James took Samantha's hand and led her to a small hill overlooking the water. "I wanted to bring you here because it's one of my favorite places," he said softly. "It's where I come to think, to reflect." Samantha looked around, taking in the breathtaking view. "It's beautiful, James. Thank you for sharing it with me." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Samantha felt a sense of contentment she hadn't felt in years. She turned to James, her heart full. "I don't want this trip to end," she whispered. James smiled, his eyes filled with emotion. "It doesn't have to. Paris will always be here, and so will I." Samantha felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had come to Paris to honor her father's memory, but she had found something much more. She had found a sense of freedom, of adventure, and a connection with someone who understood her in a way no one else had. As the days turned into weeks, Samantha and James grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing moment. They explored more of France, visiting vineyards, castles, and quaint seaside towns. Samantha found herself falling in love with not just the country, but with James as well. One evening, as they were strolling along the beach, James stopped and turned to Samantha, his expression serious. "Samantha, there's something I need to tell you." Samantha's heart raced. "What is it?" James took a deep breath. "I've been offered a job in New York. It's a great opportunity, but it means leaving Paris." Samantha felt a pang of fear and sadness. "When would you have to leave?" "In a month," James replied. "But I don't want to make any decisions without you." Samantha took a deep breath, her mind racing. "I don't want to lose you, James. But this is your dream. You have to take it." James's eyes filled with tears. "What about us?" "We'll figure it out," Samantha said, her voice trembling. "We've come this far, and I believe we can make it work." Long distance won't be easy, but I can't imagine my life without you. James pulled her into a tight embrace, their hearts beating as one. Thank you, Samantha. I love you. I love you too, James, Samantha whispered, her tears mingling with his. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of emotions as they prepared for James's departure. They spent every moment they could together, savoring the time they had left. They also made plans for the future, discussing how they would stay connected despite the distance. On the day of James's departure, Samantha accompanied him to the airport. As they stood at the gate, their hands clasped tightly, they shared one last, lingering kiss. "Promise me we'll make this work," James said, his voice choked with emotion. "I promise," Samantha replied, tears streaming down her face. "We'll make it work." James boarded the plane, and Samantha watched as it took off, carrying the man she loved to a new adventure. She felt a mix of sadness and hope, knowing that their love was strong enough to withstand the distance. Over the next few months, Samantha and James maintained their connection through late-night video calls, heartfelt letters, and surprise visits. The distance was challenging, but their love only grew stronger. They supported each other's dreams and found ways to stay close despite the miles between them. One evening, as Samantha sat in her apartment, her phone buzzed with a message from James. "Check your mailbox. I have a surprise for you." James curious, Samantha rushed to her mailbox and found a small package. Inside was a beautiful locket with a photo of the two of them inside. There was also a letter. "Dear Samantha, I wanted to give you something to remind you of our time together. This locket holds a piece of my heart, just as you do. I can't wait to see you again and hold you in my arms. Until then, know that I love you more than words can say. Love." James' tears filled Samantha's eyes as she held the locket close. She felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Their love was worth every challenge, every moment of longing. Months turned into a year, and James's project in New York was nearing completion. He called Samantha one evening, his voice filled with excitement. "Samantha, I have amazing news," he said. "The project is almost finished, and I've been offered a permanent position here. But I don't want to make any decisions without you." Samantha's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "I want you to come to New York, Samantha," James said. "We can build a life together here, just like we've always dreamed." Samantha felt a mix of emotions, excitement, fear, and overwhelming love. "James, I would love that. But it means leaving everything behind." "I know it's a big decision," James said gently. "But we can create something beautiful together. I believe in us." Samantha took a deep breath, her heart filled with love and determination. "I believe in us too, James. Let's do it." With renewed hope, Samantha began preparing for her move to New York. It was a daunting task, but the thought of being with James made it all worthwhile. She said goodbye to her friends and family, packed up her belongings, and boarded a plane to start a new chapter with the man she loved. When she arrived in New York, James was there to greet her, his eyes filled with love and joy. They embraced tightly, their hearts finally at peace. "Welcome home," James whispered. "Home," Samantha echoed, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known before. Together, they built a life filled with love, adventure, and creativity. They supported each other's dreams, celebrated each other's successes, and found joy in the simple moments. Their love story was a testament to the power of connection, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two hearts meant to be together. As they stood together, watching the sunset over the city, Samantha rested her head on James's shoulder. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" she asked, a smile playing on her lips. "Every day," James replied, kissing her forehead. "And I wouldn't change a thing." Their love had endured, and it burned brighter than ever. They had faced the challenges of life together, and their love had only grown stronger. Samantha knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand, their love a beacon of hope and happiness. And so, their story continued, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two hearts meant to be together.